Hi, my name is Justin Meddy. I'm here with my friend Brandon Surhai, and today we're going to be talking about how people use Twitter as their social media platform. Um, so, Brandon, I just want to ask you, just to kick things off, how do you feel people use Twitter on a daily basis?
People use Twitter to connect with communities that they already have, like their personal communities, people who they see on an everyday basis, or they use it to expand their network and meet new people and find out cool things that they'd be interested in.
I agree with that a lot. I think that people normally use Twitter to either be a part of specific communities, maybe strengthen those relationships, expanding their network, or finding out relevant information for them. What are your thoughts on how people get in contact with these communities that they want to be a part of? What do you think that process is like for someone who wants to use Twitter?
On Twitter, it has a really cool algorithm, I think, where they introduce a lot of content that people who you already follow, that content that they like will show up on your timeline, which exposes you to a lot of the ideas that your followers or people that you're following have. So it sort of introduces you to hundreds of new perspectives depending on the amount of people you're following.
I agree with that a lot, and I think that's really best exemplified by a woman named Dana Boyd, who had a really great article on this, on how teens specifically are being able to kind of form their own identities and social networking by having this system in place where they have a bunch of data on these teens, right, because of big data, and they're able to utilize it to better strengthen their own existing identities that may or may not be available to them geographically. And what I mean by this is a lot of teens, let's say, that feel a certain way about different issues, or choose to identify as specific members of a community, are able to find themselves with a bunch of like-minded individuals through the use of hashtags, for instance, liking specific pages, or just following individuals that have like-minded interests. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's a lot of different communities where you're exposed to people who have like-minded ideas as you, and I think that the reply function on Twitter acts as a way where people can spread their ideas in a friendly way, where they can talk about sort of differences that they have in their ideas, and ultimately, whether it's talking to your own communities or talking to communities that you want to be a part of or interested in, you're going to have lots of ideas going both ways, and people sharing their perspectives and just offering you all new insights into whatever you're looking at.
That's actually a great point you brought about people offering their own perspective. Something pretty interesting that we learned about is that, during the University of Michigan a couple of years back, there was some situations that occurred where the admissions of black students lowered pretty significantly over the course of a couple of years due to affirmative action. And what ended up happening as a result of that was a popular Twitter trend that was BBUM, hashtag BBUM, where it showcased what it was like to be black at Michigan. And I thought that was a very interesting situation where we have this virtual community highlighting the aspects and perspectives of these black students and what they're going through on their daily life and the things that they experience. But I think that what's really amazing about this is that there's an interconnection between this virtual and real life community, because these people are not just people that you can't access. Let's say you're a University of Michigan student that's black. Now you have this access to people that are like-minded, who you could follow, who you could talk to, who you've probably never met before, but because of a shared common interest and a idea, you're able to connect with them. Thank you. And further, what I think I'd like to bring up next is the sense of social capital that we have. And what I mean by social capital is building good and healthy relationships with one another. We often do this in our everyday lives, whether it be our neighbors, our friends, or families, whatever it is. Social capital is essentially the ability that, hey, you're my good friend of mine, and I need to pull a favor from you. You like me, so can you help me out? And odds are they may or may not do it, but most likely, if they're on good terms with me, they would want to do that.
Okay, so if you have good social capital with someone, you have more pull if you were to ask them to do a favor for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or they might have more incentive to, make sure that you want to succeed or win. And what I think is really awesome about that a University of Michigan professor actually brought up, Lampy, was that we could build this social capital through Twitter or other social medias, but I think on Twitter it's especially useful in a lot of different aspects, especially the job hunt, for instance. Let's say you're a software engineering student, and you have a lot of really good ideas, but you want to expand your network on a more digital scale? Well, what you could do is you could go on the social media site, you could like a bunch of posts that are similar to things that you're studying, you can comment on them, and you can interact with people who are in the field currently and use that sense of social capital to eventually, hopefully, get you a job. And a lot of studies have been shown that that's actually something that we could touch upon. But further, I just want to ask, how do you think Twitter helps you interact with a more democratic aspect of our everyday lives, that being individuals in our political or community leaders? And what are your thoughts on that?
So how Twitter helps with representation in government?
Yes.
Oh, I think that being able to follow leaders who are tweeting out things, tweeting out information, and organizing events, being able to do that and reach that platform as opposed to doing paper mail or just an email which people don't check, it allows for there to be more participation, more active participation in doing these events, and in doing that, it makes it more accessible to everyone, thus bringing universality to it. And universality is sort of equivalent to representation when it comes to democracy. You want to be able to represent everyone, and Twitter helps people get represented by allowing them to connect with communities that take political action.
No, that's a great point, and I agree with that strongly, and I think that's something that Twitter does a great job at, being able to help you find those communities, find those leaders, and be able to have that sense of, your idea matters on Twitter, and you can at least talk to someone, which is amazing. And, Twitter does a great job about making sure that you don't have, falsified ads being ran, which is great, and does a pretty amazing job at making sure that your community is intact and not being bombarded. So with that, I'd like to thank you for being here for this interview. Thanks so much, Brandon.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next time.